Hey there guys, in this video I'm going to be showing off a build for the Zarr. Now this is kind of just a beginning all-around build for the Zarr. It's made so you can use both the cannon fire mode and the barrage fire mode. And yeah, so that's again I'll show. So as I said before, if you know about the Zarr, if you know how the Zarr works, you know it has two fire modes. Cannon, which basically fires like a cannonball, and then barrage, which basically makes it a close range shotgun for yeah, it's basically a close range shotgun. Uh, it's very, very inaccurate, as you can see. If you can see down there, about here, the accuracy, not the best. It's basically a close range shotgun. You can't really really close up. It just wrecks enemies, but far away, it's very ineffective. The balls just kind of just fly away, and the spread is very big, so you can't really be close up with close up to enemies when using the barrage fire mode. And yeah, so yeah. Okay, sorry about the cut. I just had to go deal with that invite before. I apologize for that. It's gonna cut quickly. That was kind of annoying me to seeing over there's a glittering thing inside. So yeah. Yeah. So as you can, as I said, because there's two different fire modes, you got cannon, barrage. We've got a mod for both of them because both for this weapon, you want a mod for both of them because both of them are very useful. You can't. One isn't really better than the other. They're very circumstantial because the cannon not so good for close range one because it's going to take away your health. It damages you if you're in close range, and it's not really good at extremely long ranges. But again, you can't really do anything about that. And yeah, and the barrage very good at close range, not that good at longer ranges, where the cannon would come in. And not good for crowds. It's not that good for crowds. So this is where the cannon would come in for the crowd, for crowd control. And barrage would be probably for those bigger targets that like single bigger targets that you want to take out. So yeah, so you kind of need to mod for both of them. You can't really mod for one. You can if you want to make a overpowered cannon build. But again, most time from what I see, most of the time, when you make these builds, they kind of, even if you try and build for one, you're already making the other one pretty good anyway. So yeah, let's get into it. So as with the first one we have here, we have Centeration, which increases the damage. As you can see here, the damage is just absolutely crazy. Sorry about that. It's absolutely crazy. Especially with the barrage with Light Corrosive at 2,460 damage. Like it's just unbelievable. But again, saying that it's going to be pretty high as it's a close range weapon. You want to and it packs a really big punch. It's probably one of the highest damaging shotguns in the game. When you're in close range. And the negative towards that for this weapon is that it has a really short range. So again, as I said, best to go up to enemies and fire at them. Long range is not the best. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Then we have Faster Hands, which is for the reload. Now this is because most of the time this is the reload cycle is reloading one cannon at a time because there's about 4 in the mag. I'm pretty sure if you can see here, about a four size magazine, and that means you're going to be firing, like saying you'll fire 4 shots in and then you'll put each one individually in, and that can be very tedious and annoying. So I found it very good to basically put Faster Hands on to pretty much just decrease that to about 2.1. And that means you'll just be putting that in really quickly, and you'll be reloading pretty fast. Now, again, it's not as good, it's not as fast as when compared to the Strum or Strum Wrath, but it still reloads really fast. Again, saying that the Strum has like 10 rounds in it, and this has like 4. So again, it's going to be a little slower. So, and now we got onto our main damage mods here. So this is where most of the damage comes in. This is where as we said. If you see my other build videos, which not that many people have, I'm not really that big of a YouTuber, like 5 views per video, amazing. Yeah, but as I was saying, if you have seen my videos before, corrosive is my most important mod. Secondary element. I use it on every single weapon. I love it. It's amazing. Pretty much makes it so your weapon is even more powerful towards damage. It's very good overall against most factions, and it's just really good. I love using corrosive. And so yeah, and that's why this is why most time you can see my builds I will always be putting in at least corrosive, and that's what I've done here. I put in corrosive here, and this is as you can see with as we got with high voltage and infection clip. Now as you can see with high voltage, it isn't like what do you call it, Stormbringer, where it gives it 9%, which would probably increase their damage to around 3,000 corrosive. But I don't really I don't really want, that much damage. You can do that if you want. As you can probably fit that in even without any form, as you can see here. And you can probably put that in, and you can make it unbelievably powerful. But again, I do like having corrosive proc a lot, so that's why I put high voltage on, which has the increased status chance to like plus 60%, which it brings it part into making the status 44% and what is it up here, 52% on the cannon, and what was it, 44% on the barrage. So yeah. And I just like having the status chance because it's very good. And most rounds you're gonna be putting those corrosive procs on. As you can see with the cannon, it's going to be a lot higher, so which is pretty good. So that means you'll be putting a lot of corrosive a lot of corrosive status chance or corrosive procking debuffs onto big groups of enemies, and it's just good. If you don't know what corrosive does, I'm not really good at explaining it. I'll put a video in the description to a video that explains it. And yeah, and if you like, forget to do it and you want to see it, just search up corrosive damage Warframe, and the first video should be the one that you should look at because he explains it really well. He's really good at explaining Warframe damages and how they work. So yeah, then we have the other part of the corrosive secondary element, which is infested clip. Now again, you could probably put, instead of here, put basically the infested, the toxic version of this kind of thing, where instead of increasing the electricity, you can it increases toxin and also status chance. You can put that there instead of this. But again, I do like my corrosive damage being like 2,400 and like 615. I kind of like it being high, and I don't think status is really that important. I still want it to be a lot of damage, but I still want to increase the damage in some degree. So that's why I think it's best to put on at least one for status chance and one for normal infested clip. So that's why I've done this. Yeah. And then now we have the other part of this, which is blast, which is something I occasionally put in weapons, but not as much compared to corrosive. I put this on like maybe a couple weapons, and it's still really good, especially with a weapon like this, especially because I mainly put this on for the cannon, and also maybe I also want wildfire on because it increases the magazine clip, and so that's also why I wanted it. So I thought, why not make it blast? So yeah, I've also put this to also increase the status, so the status is really high. And now the reason I want to do this is because, especially for the cannon, and it kind of helps out if you get it procced when you're like shooting up enemy close range, because you knock them over, they can't damage you anymore. Especially with a Grenier bomber, you kind of want to get them. You kind of want them knocked down so they don't shoot you, because they just do a ridiculous amount of damage. And so it's very good. It's a very good side positive for for barrage. It's kind of good for that, but it's not the main reason why I put blast on. The reason I've put blast on is so when you are firing a grenade, saying there's a group of enemies firing you, a lot of time, as you can see, if it has 52% status, a lot of time when you're firing, they're just going to be knocking down, they can't actually shoot you. So you just fire continuously at them, and they will be falling over, not shooting at you, and then just falling over continuously, not being able to actually shoot you. And then you, by the time they get back up and you reload, you're already firing at them again. Like it's just really good to have it on with this, especially with the high status full cannon. It just kind of goes together. And if you do want to do that a lot more, you could probably switch it out to make the status chance a lot more. Again, I don't have I might do that. I might make a second build where that's the only difference between it. But that's when I do get the status increasing version of this, where it also adds toxin. I don't know what it's called. I forget the name. Sorry. Yeah. So. Yeah. So you might want to do that if you so want to. Again, I don't really find a need. I kind of just like it to having corrosive doing so much damage, like ridiculous amount of damages, and yeah, I just kind of enjoy it. So yeah, and I don't think I didn't really look at. I forgot to look at was all the other ones where you could change. Now again, you don't really need to change these. The only reason that this has been changed is because of a hammer shot, and that is because the reason I have hammer shot on is not because of the critical damage. I don't really care about critical damage for this, especially for shotguns. Like, because both of them, one is shotgun and one is like an area of effect weapon, which I never focus on critical damage for that. I just mainly focus on status and that kind of stuff, and that's why I have it on, because it increases status by like 40%. Again, nowhere near compared to like these, which are like 60%, which is really good. But still does something. Still increases it by 40%, which is still quite a lot to it. So yeah, I'm able to reach it to 52%. So that's why I have it on. It's not here for the critical damage. It's here for the status chance. And yeah, that's pretty much just why here. And so yeah, This is, my build. I would recommend it. This is pretty good. It's kind of an all-round build. You could probably, I haven't really thought of any other builds where you could do it, but if you're a higher player and you have better mods than I do, because this is kind of a beginner's build for beginner players like me, and if you do have other ones, you could probably mod it so that you can probably change it up. Maybe you can make it this complete blast damage. Is that's all it is. Just literally making enemies fall over. You can make it like a tool weapon, like I do with my Ignis, where I've just made it a tool weapon where it is just made to literally make enemies fall over. That's what I've done. That's what I've done with my Ignis. You could do that as well. That's a possibility. You could just make it a complete corrosive damage where you just barrage enemies. You can just utterly destroy them. You can do that as well. There's two sides to these kind of things. You can this weapon you can do quite a lot with, and it's a really good weapon. One, because you have two different firing modes, and because it's a weapon where you want to go towards status, kind of like status kind of things. You can just make it. You can do so many things. You can put on magnetized damage if you so want to. You can put on all these different kind of things, and you can just do it all. So that's what I recommend. If you do want to like change this build up and maybe make it like one of the just like a core either blast or corrosive damage, I would go for the blast damage because that just seems pretty useful. You can kind of use this weapon as not really a damage weapon, but more as a tool for your allies and try to help them in teams. And that would be pretty good because this weapon doesn't. I haven't used in sorties yet. That's something I should be doing. And it doesn't seem like a weapon that can utterly destroy in sorties, but I can see it being very helpful if you build towards blast damage. I can see it being very, very, very helpful in that. So I would probably do that. I would probably go in with and do that for sorties so that I'm helping out my teammates a lot more and actually doing something, because again, like level 80 sorties, it doesn't seem like it's going to do that much damage to enemies. So I feel like it'd be better for this weapon to become a status weapon to knock over enemies, so they're not utterly destroying my teammates. So yeah. And that's pretty much what you can do. That's probably going to be the end of the video. I would recommend getting this weapon. It's very good, and putting it as a build if you do it. But just mess around a bit. You can do whatever you want. That's the good thing about Warframe. You can do whatever you want. There's so many things you can do. So yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video now because I'm not good at ending it. So goodbye.